Hey guys, let's see if anybody's on yet. So it's Vanessa here, obviously, and it is many weeks into our meditations now. I love when we get new people on. It makes me excited. But even if we just have a couple on and then everybody watches it during the week, that's good too. So nothing is wasted, right? No energy is wasted. We're just creating constantly. So tonight we're going to just quickly review our last week's chakra, which, if you recall, is the third chakra, and the color was yellow. Some people already sent me their homework, which I've been posting kind of slowly to get keep people involved and excited about all the changes that's going on. I'm seeing updates going on here. Okay, good. So we went from that power center, that place where, hey, Nene, where we're really working on self-control and so many other things. And if you have questions about that, review last week's meditation and also look it up more. And then you can ask me more questions because I could always go into more depth. But we are moving now into the heart chakra. And the heart chakra is really important in its own way because of obvious reasons, but also because it's the central point for the 7 chakras. So we went from down below, right? And we go all the way up: red, orange, yellow, green, which is why I'm wearing green, which is why the background is now green. Try to keep it consistent. It's the 4th chakra, but it's, like I said, it's the meeting point for everything. So really important in terms of, oh no, okay, Renee's switching over, that's fine. Really important in terms of that, because everything from the top and the bottom are going to meet here. So you're going to have a lot more than just the heart. It's also going to go into the other tissues that are located around that area. And I think it's always interesting when you have overlapping in belief systems. So in Chinese medicine, the lung channel, I should say, rule the skin. And in this, it's the same thing. So your organs that are impacted by the 4th chakra, associated with skin, and that same local thing, like the thymus gland and things like that. So they all overlap, which is always fascinating to me. And like I said, the color is green, nice and easy to remember. Don't forget, we're doing our rainbow within our body. And what else is important? Let's see. The simple things that you're always going to remember, like heart, opens into kindness and love, obviously, right? In Sanskrit, the heart chakra is known as the anahata, which means, oh, this is ironic, because for most people it's not like this: unstruck, unhurt, and unbeaten. So when you think of the heart chakra, it's usually the opposite of what we think, because we're always feeling a little stuck, broken, and beaten down. But the way it's supposed to be is the opposite, so we have to focus on that. It's actually associated with being calm and serene, and sounds like without violence. So I always like to say loving kindness is the best thing for the heart chakra. That's when we do our metta prayer, when we send out well wishes for everybody. So we don't pick and choose. We have to send it to all alike and hope that it actually gets to all alike. Which is a big theme for what's going on right now in the world. It's for everyone. So love and kindness for everyone. What else should we say about it? It's a little weird tonight because nobody's on Zoom yet, so I feel lonely. Speaking into a void. That's okay. When you have an overactive, hey Danielle, when you have an overactive heart chakra, this is kind of interesting because it also sounds a little similar to the chakra before it, because it's going to talk about lack of self-discipline, which in the previous chakra, you'll remember we said like lack of self-control and things like that. Overactive is like too much giving, so tendency to give one's life through another's, experiencing difficulties in relationships. That's a few parts of the heart chakra. So if you're not just overextending yourself, but always, there's something going on Zoom. She's trying to tell me something. I don't know. I see myself. All right. I'll check it out in a second. Are you trying to get in, Renee? Because I don't see anything. Okay. So it also goes, again, overlapping with the Chinese medicine, because lungs are affected by grief as well. So guess what? Overwhelmed, overactive heart chakra, you're going to get grief, sadness, jealousy, this is different, greediness, anger, and without control over these feelings. And again, the anger is interesting because that goes in Chinese medicine, that's the color for the liver. So if the liver is rising or stagnant, you're going to get a lot of like quick to anger and things like that. If you have an underactive fourth chakra, it makes the individual feel unloved. So you might get cold or distant or feeling inferior. Again, like these are kind of overlapping with the previous chakra. It's always interesting how that happens, but they'll use slightly different words for it. So they are different though. Feeling inferior or constantly seeking out emotional support from relationships. So it's like, you know, not just not feeling good enough, but you're kind of searching for that extra thing. I'm also reading at the same time, guys. Sorry. Renee, I can't help you with Zoom right now. I'm sorry. It's not working. Okay. So I don't always tell you all the rest of these things because I really want you to look it up, but I do want you to know this. The sense of the heart chakra is touch. So if you can figure this out pretty easily, we're going through a period of time where touch is pretty limited unless you're within family, and unless you're just like gave up on the social quarantining, whatever. But maybe even if you're outside with friends or family, you're probably still not touching nearly as much as you used to, even casually. So we are lacking a lot of that touch. I know I definitely am. I mean, I used to treat all the time, and I'm basically just dealing with the touch of my family and sometimes a little bit with my friends who were like pushing the other way. So we're missing out on those things that we used to have all the time. And the element is water. So these are the next thing I want to talk about. Oh, another Danielle. Hey, Danielle. Again, like I don't want to tell you too much because I want you to look things up, but the element is water. So today I got to go kayaking for the first time in years. And there's a specific reason that I like to do those things. It's not just because I'm a Pisces. But if you notice that when you're outside, Renee's laughing at me. When you're outside, there are certain elements that call to you. And there's certain elements that will call to you during certain times. So now we're in summer. This is the warmer weather, obviously. Hey, Stephanie. And the water for me, it does a lot to my heart. Again, not just because I'm a Pisces. It has its own way of healing. It's the power of the water. It's the movement of it. It depends on what kind of water you're in. Today it was like a little choppy at the beginning. Hey, Carrie. Yes, Carrie took me out. Thank you, Carrie. But it also has a flow that you have to figure out, like how do you get into it and how do you release to it, surrender to this flow of energy, because it's a lot. So when we first got in, Carrie and I were like, oh, it's a little rougher than normal. I haven't done it in years. I'm trying to figure out how to use these muscles again in a different way. And there's boats and I'm like getting stuck in the wakes and I couldn't get over or whatever. And then like eventually it just starts to change because I start to change and adjust to what needs to happen. And that's basically what's going on with the heart chakra. So during this time, we're so involved and entrenched in this constant change. I speak about this every week because literally every day there's a new bombardment, there's a new change, something we have to adjust. And as we continue to so-called open up, you know, there's a little PTSD going on. Let's be truthful here. We've had, I'm going to say, I'll limit it down. We've had small traumas along the way, but basically everybody's been traumatized in some way at this point because it's shocking to not be with people and it's shocking to not be doing your jobs and stuff like that. There's just little things going on all the time. And now that we're navigating through change on such a constant basis, we are basically thrown into this water area. And lacking that touch, it affects everything. So when you go outside, there's always the base for the root chakra, right? We talk about that a lot with grounding and with even something called earthing, where you're really starting to feel connected to the earth, really asking for her to help you channel your energy down so that it can go back up, right? And I know Renee's loving this because I was talking about gardening for her, right? Now, with the heart chakra, there's the other layer, because the water element is very, very important to this. It allows us to help flow, gains that sensibility again, and also gains that flexibility and adaptation. Touch, even tactile with the outside, is similar to having intimate contact with humans. It sounds strange, but it's not, because we are connected to that life. And if you slow down a whole lot, you can feel it in everything outside. So today when I was outside, you know, kind of fighting against the elements at first, and then like starting to give into it, everything started to change. And like I was actually having, I don't want to say heart issues for the past couple of days, but I believe I strained a muscle when I was lifting weights, and I have a trigger point that's actually going to my heart area, which is not comfortable. And I was like, I couldn't be having a heart attack for 2 days, could I? But I'm like, no, I'm fine. But anyway, my point is that the more green that we were going through, the more water we were going through, the better I started to feel. And Carrie's quoting me from today. I said, Carrie, just so you know, I like doing ballet in the water. And every time I'm in the water, I do ballet. And this is very, very true. Renee can attest to that one. So the great qualities of the heart chakra are all the good things that you would think of: love, trust, healing, compassion, connection, surrender. I love when I read something, I'm like, I just said that, perfect. When we surrender to all this stuff, suddenly things aren't so difficult anymore. They change, right? But if there's a malfunction going on, we have quite the opposite. Again, all this overlay from the other chakras we already spoke about, because now there's a lack of love if something's not working. Trust and fear, right? They're like opposing forces, but they can go into what? Linkin Park too? You feel connected by the Linkin Park? I don't know. We'll have to discuss that. Trust and fear. So it's like we have so much fear coming up right now. And now it's not just the heart chakra that's being rocked, and it's not just the root chakra. Like they're all getting their own force happening through it. But if you focus on the chakras that are ruled by the opposing forces, like this is ruled by trust, this is ruled by trusting things, guess what's going to happen? So every week as we speak about a different chakra, I still want you to go back to the other ones and kind of review and enforce the differences and understand when it's time to go back into the other one. Obviously depression and the feeling of loneliness would be here too. And again, I say that goes into the other ones too, because it's like, if you feel in the root chakra, that you don't have a solid foundation, you don't have your support system, right? It's going to trickle down into the other areas. So, here's another overlay with Chinese medicine. Hey, Jan, love it. So in Chinese medicine, the heart channel, it's so interesting because if you have an imbalance in the heart channel, then you also could have insomnia, heart palpitations, and things like that. And guess what we're talking about right now? So it's the same thing that can happen. So both overactive and underactive could cause a heart chakra and lead to physical ailments like circulation problems. Again, that's skin for the lungs, skin diseases, sleep problems, heart palpitations, hypertension, immune system dysfunctions, and backaches. And backaches in Chinese medicine is usually more of a kidney or a bladder channel thing, but this is because the back, right? So even though the heart chakra is here, it's located right in between the breast or the chest, right on the sternum, which is, by the way, CV17, central vessel 17, and that's the altar, your central altar right here. And you can feel like a little divot here. And although it doesn't tell you with the chakras, it just says midsection on the sternum. It doesn't say like in the divot or anything like that. I'm pretty damn sure that it's the same. So if you actually press this area, it will guarantee be pretty tender. After about maybe a couple of minutes of, I'm going to say aggravating it, but we'll say massaging it, it will feel like there's an opening that starts to happen. So physically, when we access these points, you can start to feel an opening later on. It might not feel good at first, but it will happen. In yoga, we'll use props a lot, especially during restorative yoga, or the pose itself to open up the heart chakra. So there's, the more extreme poses like camel pose, Ustrasana, or what's another really good one? Fish pose is super good for it. Anything that has that slight back bend going on is going to open up the chest, open up that heart area. But I'm also adding in the Chinese medicine part, so if you access down into the center, you're going to feel, do it right now. It's not pleasant, but it works. My clients can always attest to that, that it's like very interesting. I'm trying to see if anybody else is on here. Okay. So, what else is going on? It always goes into the love within the self, which I say again, don't forget the lower chakras, because they have a whole lot to do with that. When you go into your childhood stuff and you start to really heal that, guess what's going to happen? Hey, Kim. Hey, Liz. You're going to start figuring out like, well, I said this to my friend the other day, actually. I was like, man, I've done all this work on all this stuff, and now more is coming up. How does that happen? It just keeps coming up. It keeps coming up because I, at some point right now, am going to need these tools again. So I know that sounds strange, but like, if you feel like you finished with healing something and then it comes back up, for me, it was like a self-love thing. I'm like, are you serious? I've worked so hard on this, and now I'm looking in the mirror and thinking this is ridiculous. Doesn't make sense. So that means that the challenge is coming up, or has come up, that I need to reinvest in those tools again. I need to rediscover those tools. I need to start using them again. So that means it's another layer of healing. You'll always hear somebody say, oh, we peeled apart the onion and now there's another layer, there's another layer, there's another layer. But there's also like repeat layers, which is exhausting sometimes. But you'll notice that maybe the next time that you go through that layer again, it will be a lot faster, the lesson, and it will be just a lot smoother if you understand and accept it. So instead of fighting against it and going like, no, I'm done with this, I'm pushing it down, I'm done with this, I don't want to do this again. Whatever the story is, whether it's like, maybe a lower chakra thing like a job, right? Like, oh no, I earned this position at this job and now that's not working, and I did this and that's not working. I implore you to take a few breaths, take maybe a few days if you can, and finish the questioning of why this is coming up again, because it just is. It's coming up. So it's coming up to tell you that there's a reason you're going to need to use this tool again. However you got out of that last time, it's going to come up again stronger. So, hey, Cheryl. So that's what's going on. So the heart chakra is begging us right now. It's begging us. It wants you to feel loved. It wants you to feel safe. It wants you to search for compassion. And it also wants you to understand that you don't have to understand. Does that make sense? It is good to ask questions. It's great to ask questions. It is not good to sit there and complain about everything over and over again. So if you find yourself in a complaint circle, which some people, I'm sure I've been there for sure, and then I have to like stop myself, be like, okay, it's enough about that. Let's move on to this. Go outside again, and start going slower. Go slower, because sometimes there are no direct answers. And you just have to listen. You have to listen a lot. That's the other part of the heart chakra that you may not understand completely, because it also goes into the upper chakras. But it's a lot of listening that needs to be done. And the heart wants to do this. So it calls upon outside, and it calls upon living objects and living things, and the grass because it's so green, and the plants because they're so green. It calls upon that. So if you start to listen, it's such a gift, because then there's no room for any excess noise. There's no room. There's just not. And that's what we need to learn over and over again. That, okay, I don't have the answers. My human mind does not have the answer for this. What can I do right now? And if you really aren't sure, go outside. If you can't get to outside, and there's been studies done on this, I don't think I've ever mentioned it during one of these lives, that, in China, I'm trying to remember when I learned this, but it was probably many years ago. If they were in a hospital, right, and it was always like more centered around acupuncture and things like that. Ironically, now they're trying to get more of our stuff, but that's okay. There were studies about if the patient couldn't get up to do Tai Chi, Qigong, they would meditate about it. They would think about it. And guess what would happen? They would have the same benefits as just doing it. So if we are strong enough and more patient and believe enough to use our minds in such a fashion. Hey, Kara, can you mute yourself? Hey. Things are gonna change. So if you actually can't get outside, say it's a super rainy day, which is also cleansing on its own, gazing out the window can be equally as beneficial, and just closing your eyes and listening. So you can listen to the rain, or if it's just not in the cards today to get outside and you just want to stare at the grass, then do it. If for some reason you don't have grass around, right? Look at pictures. Look at pictures of beautiful places, Scotland, Ireland. There's plenty of nature stuff on Long Island that are absolutely green too. So don't think you have to go far to do that. But look and then listen. Okay. I'm not going to tell you all the crystals and stones. That's part of homework. So you know that old adage, you can't, oh, puppy's on. You can't be loved until you love yourself, right? Or however it goes, you can't love somebody else until you love yourself. I'm going to tell you that it's not true, and this is my feeling on it, but it's just simply not true. You can love so full and so wholeheartedly without having that love for yourself. And that sounds awful, but it also should be freeing. Realize this now, that you do not have to understand how to love yourself in order to get the love that you deserve or need. You do need to work on it, and you need to be present with it and understand it and try to work on it completely. I've spoke openly many times about, when anxiety comes to me and what I ask my husband to do, blah, blah, blah. Like, I am not a perfect person. I am not what I think I should be all the time. Absolutely not. But do I ever question that I'm loved? I mean, yeah, I do, but then I go, no, it doesn't make sense. I know I'm loved. I'm absolutely loved. And I know he loves me, and I know my kids love me. So do you think that if I'm not fully loving myself, then I can't love my kids? Of course not. So forget that. Don't put that pressure on yourself. You're never going to be like, I shouldn't say never. The chances of you every day waking up and going, I am so perfect, I really understand how to love myself, are slim. They're slim to none. But the chances of you waking up every morning and acknowledging that I'm going to work on this. Oh, I didn't have a great of thought about myself there. Well, that wasn't very kind. That wasn't very compassionate. And that goes for everybody, right? You see somebody, you have a thought in your head. You're not wrong to have a thought in your head. You're wrong if you react on that thought and go with that thought, because it's probably not a good thing to do, right? And you wouldn't want somebody to think about that. So find the next level and go to the compassionate part of it. Oh, that person is X, Y, and Z. Okay, well, what would the compassionate part bring in? Probably like, well, maybe they had a bad day. Oh, I wonder how hard it is for them at home. I wonder what their job is like. It's not hard to be compassionate. It just takes more thought and more listening. And hubby's watching now. How sweet. So the heart chakra governs our relationships and interactions with people around us. And it determines, now this is kind of crazy, our values, our beliefs, and our ethics. As well as how we accept ourselves and those around us. So again, if you're not consistently working on loving and being compassionate and being kind, guess what happens? Things start to fall apart, not just within your family and your relationships, but everything around you. And that even goes into your ethics and your morals. So it is more of a heavy-duty meeting point. Okay, I like when they talk about under control, because I don't usually think of the heart as a control thing. But so we went over the location, basic issues, color. The mantra for this chakra is Yam. So you'll notice that all of them, except for Om, as like everybody knows about, it's all ending with that open A sound, M, Yam. If you're balanced, now, if you have a heart that's balanced, to me, one of the many times that I've ever felt my heart chakra open, it felt like I was taking the biggest breath I've ever taken in my entire life. It was amazing. I suddenly just felt like I could breathe and grab everything with my lung power. So amazing. And then what happened is that I went through the city. This is like when I finished part of my yoga teacher training at Kripalu. I went through the journey home, and I felt my chakras start to close because they were scared. It was so sad. And by the time I came home, I was like yelling at Bill, and shampoo had exploded in the luggage, and like everything was a hot mess, and it wasn't good. But it made me realize how chakras actually function. So when I went back and I told the psychic there, and she was like, that's a major realization. You understand now that they're there to really support you. And when they're open, they are so, so powerful. And they can also close. And our purpose is to really figure out how to easily open them. And if they start to close, to allow it and start to control it so that they can open again faster and faster. So again, if you get that open heart chakra feeling, you're going to know it. It literally feels like the biggest breath you've ever taken. And the weight of the world just lifts off. So I hope you get that. Okay. It's really time to do our meditation, but are we ready for it? I don't know. All right, so your homework, as always, for the chakras has been very, very consistent. It's simply the art homework, which is looking up the heart chakra, looking up the words about it, and I prefer that you paint or draw, or what else did I say? Paint, draw, color, whatever, green for the heart chakra, and you can put words around it, whatever. So that's the main homework, but I do want you to look it up so you can have more questions and stuff like that about it. Also, don't forget, anything that comes up during the week as you're focusing on the heart chakra, that should also be explored. You don't have to necessarily explore it with me, although I invite you to, but you really should think about it. Invite the colors into your wardrobe and food as well. And in Chinese medicine, the food for the green is liver, which is also like heavy-duty greens. So broccoli rabe, anything bitter especially, is really, really good. Okay, so with that, start to get yourself super comfortable, dimming out the lights and slowing down the breath. And tonight you're going to bring your hands first by the solar plexus, which is right below the break in the ribs, between that area and the navel. And you'll start there. So as the breath starts to slow down and calm down, you'll start to notice some heat coming into the body. So we're starting below so that we can bring that energy and smooth it up into the heart chakra. So a few more breaths here. Over here the color is golden yellow. And then you're going to slowly shift your fingertips right onto the sternum. It's about at the level of the nipples and between on the chest. And just explore that bone there, feeling the divot, the connection. Feel if anything is tender. So in my work, we don't shy away from tender, we explore it. So see if you can open that area, give a little fingertip digital massage around there, opening up the intercostal muscles. So we start with the physical, and then we start to heal the spiritual. you're going to give some very gentle fingertip tapping into this area. It's easy when you're lying down, not when you're sitting up. So when you're lying down, the chest will be more open. You can alternate, or you can do the same, whichever feels good to you. But you're going to go right over that area, and then you'll come up all the way to the split in the collarbone, and then back down a few times. If nobody's told you today, you're doing such a good job. Coming on here to listen and to meditate. It's not always easy to meet, but you made it. And now it's time to release the whole day. Release anything that does not serve you. So when this movement feels complete, you're going to simply rest your dominant hand over the heart area. And find what's comfortable for you. If that's not comfortable, then switch hands. And any time you can slide both hands down to your belly. Now you're going to notice that your whole torso is starting to warm up. So as you deepen the breath and really focus on that prana moving, the flow can be so sweet. Feels really, really yummy. And there's a soft vibration that just happens naturally as we turn from the external to the internal. So we're going with green. We've had 3 weeks of really working on sunsets and sunrises and the awesomeness of the blooms of flowers and all these things that we find so easily in nature. And now we're going to allow nature, or invite nature, to bring us into lots and lots of green. So our journey tonight begins right in a very, very wooded area. The foliage is thick, it's lush, it's at its peak. And each leaf has its own amazing outline, its own amazing cut. And you'll stand wherever you are and simply listen to each leaf doing its own dance through the wind. And it does this, nature does this for us. It gives us this listening, a deep listening that we didn't know was needed or available, but it's there. So you listen to the leaves as they do their dance. Listen to the way the branches have this incredible flexibility, this way of easily adapting. And enjoy that. Use the breath to now move with the wind. So we're working not only on the heart, but the surrounding lungs. Feeling how the deepness of the breath invites a big exhale. And the wind in turn reacts and allows the leaves to dance. And it's so much like a movie when they have the silence in nature and suddenly this beautiful music starts to come out, right? So really feel it in this area where you can feel the deepness of the green and how nature does this. And why would they put that music paired with that? They do that because they know that it will make you pause, that it will show how important this moment is. And that's what this moment is. It's so important. And so is the next. And now you'll start to slowly walk, noticing, as always, how your feet are. Are they barefoot? Are you wearing sandals? Notice what's below your feet. Any other sounds? And you'll walk slowly between this wooded area. The trees are pretty close together. Maybe you'll hear some rustling from some small animals. And now you'll walk into the center. And I always like to see a clearing in the center because the clearing shows us that there's this break, that there's this change. There always needs to be a change before we can go to the next part. So it's a mental break for us, a physical break for us. And now we bring our energetic bodies into this cleared area. It's not very large. It's just a big circle. And in this area, there's 5 tree stumps. And the first thing you're going to do is go to one tree stump and take your index finger first. And you'll imagine yourself tracing the rings. Noticing the texture and the feel. And you'll move on to the next one. And you'll switch fingers. When you get to the ring finger, you're going to pause. The ring finger is for the heart. So we're going to give this one an added amount of time. Still tracing the rings, still feeling the texture. And now resting the entire hand on that tree. And you'll take your other one, both palms on this tree. And even in your mind's eye, when you close your eyes here, you can feel like the heartbeat of the earth. And it comes through these trees. Even though their whole body is not there anymore, their soul and their spirit remains. And their heart is connected. It's still rooted down. So now in your other hand that we didn't circle with, you're going to put that ring finger down, really, really firmly down. And you're going to use it as your own root. Think of that connection that you're bringing into this tree. And every deep inhale and exhale, some of your energy, don't worry, you're not going to lose it, is going to go down into this tree. And first it will feel like vibrations, and then it might feel like some growth is happening, like you're changing something. So really focus now and see how you're able to create that growth and that change. Beautiful job. You'll take your hands away from this tree for a moment, and as you step back, you're going to start to notice that a couple of small branches have sprouted on that trunk. They're small, but they're there. Your focus and concentration has the capability of changing the world around you. Your intention for love is so strong that it can make growth happen. Big growth. It can change things, and it does. So now as we continue on, you'll bring both palms to heart center, keeping the chin to the chest, and you'll walk more slowly through the woods. You'll pause at a very, very tall tree. It's an oddity here. It's like the size of a sequoia. And you can notice yourself if it's one of the tall sequoias or if it's one of the widest. But just notice how you feel at the base of this tree. And if you're feeling so small here, can you enjoy it? Can you stay with it? And if you're feeling like you want more, want to feel more connected to this tree, and need to be a little bigger to do so, we're going to have an Alice in Wonderland moment, but we're not going to do it by tasting anything. We're going to do it by touching. So just as you did on that small tree that needed some love, you're going to now allow a connection to happen with this very big tree. And instead of you giving, it's going to give willingly. So put your fingertips at the base of this tree. Again, closing your eyes. And feel how things circle back up into you. Just repeating in your mind's eye here, Yum. Start to notice the growth internally, whether it's in size or just in peace, but something has shifted. You feel so connected with this being. And as the trees and the leaves dance, you feel the need to move as well. And here there's no one to care or to judge. So in your mind, you'll see your body moving. And maybe there's an internal beat, or maybe it's just movement like freedom. What does freedom look like? You're going to move that body back to the center of the woods where that small clearing was, where those tree stumps were. And as soon as you get there, you're going to notice that you're stepping into a small body of water. So the tree stumps are there, But there's also a little, not puddle, bigger than a puddle, but some water there. And that you have the urge to go sit in it. You can notice the depth of it. You can notice the width of it. You can notice everything. And just be there in wonderment. Be there with the feeling, the freedom, as the body moves, as the body wants to move. And as the water changes, the temperature changes. Notice what it's like to just be here and listen so deeply into the earth, so deeply into you, what it's like to be so easily filled with peace and joy and compassion. What is it like? People think that you have to die to go to heaven, but every day you can bring a piece of it to you. You can find this, you can feel this, you can connect to it. It's always available. And nature does that for us. She's a constant reminder, if we listen. So maybe you've played in this area, or maybe you just sat and listened. But wherever you are now, you're going to do one more really beautiful and powerful thing. You're going to bring your fingertips now into the edges of that water. Really root them down. And you're going to gift the woods a treasure. So as the fingertips go down, feeling that breath travel down towards the fingertips, down towards the earth, you're going to feel something come under the fingers and hold it in both hands. There's 5 of them, and they're as big as quarters. And you'll open your eyes and your mind, and you're going to see 5 green stones. They're as deep as emerald. You don't have to know what they are, but you know that they're gorgeous, that you helped the earth create them. And now you're going to choose a couple of things. For 3 of them, you're going to bury for a buried treasure for a child. 2 of them you'll take with you. And you're going to choose who you're going to give them to. And it is wonderful and okay to give one to yourself. So these stones in this story represent all of our goodness, all of our energy that we can create to give joy and peace and love. And that we're able to do this all the time. So over the next few breaths, really focus on these 5 stones. And if right now you're not sure who you're going to gift them to, that's fine. But 3, like I said, go towards the energy of a child, because we have to give them that future, that hope. And 2, you get to choose on your own. So for tonight, as we come back into our breath, slowly come back into our human bodies, repeating the word Yam over the breath, Y-A-M. Remembering Anahata. This heart chakra is named after being unbreakable. And let that truth come into your body. And watch that dark green come right into the chakra. Placing both hands right over the heart, feeling your heart beat. Come into the amazement of what that means. And also we'll send our metta, our loving kindness. You can whisper this to yourself as well. May I feel loved. May my heart be full. May you feel loved. May your heart be full. May all beings feel loved. May all beings have a full heart. And it's as simple as that, guys. Focusing, bringing the intention into the area, and understanding why we need to. So as always, you can find everything you need from me on my professional page, Vanessa M. Meyer LLC. Please share that. It's also on Instagram. If you have any questions or anything you want to see or add, you can always reach out to me, okay? I'm ending this video, and I'll join a community chat in a few minutes, okay? God bless. Namaste.